Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. So this one is against Runinja, and without further ado, let's get into it. E4 c6, knight c3 d5, knight f3. So this is the two knights against the Caro defense. And the Caro is a very solid opening. You know, you build this triangle, or you at least build the c6 pawn, and then you bring your bishop out. So in this game, bishop f5, knight g3, and I played here knight to e5. And to be honest, I forgot the theory here. I think it's h4, and after h6, here I play knight to e5. Because here, if bishop to h7, then there's queen to h5, g6, queen f3, and automatically queen b3 should work out. If queen d5, then queen takes b7, we'll get the rook. So there are plenty of tempting ways to get there. So I did play it in the wrong order. What I should have played instead was h4, right? And if h6, I should have then played knight to e5. But I played it in the wrong order, and our friend Runinja escaped. So knight to e5, knight to d7. And I remember thinking in the game that I remember there was a punishment for this this specific variation, but I just misplayed it by one move, so that's okay. d4, and then bishop d3, queen to e2, and I was just slowly bringing my pieces out, you know. I said, you know, I don't really have much right now. I just need to play solidly. Now, I could have also thought about, you know, knight to e4, right, later on. But I played queen to f3 because I had said I sort of worried about the move bishop to f4, trading bishops. And I said I don't want to trade bishops. I think my piece is okay. Queen to b6, and now I castled. And at this moment, black has a very sneaky but good move. The move queen to a5. Threatens g5, threatens a2. And I say it's a good move because white's probably best chance here is taking an f6, and if pawn takes f6, I play king to b1, and it's a normal game, except white has no bishop pair anymore, right? So we're going to need to send out the tiers. But in the game, I was a bit lucky. Castle's queenside, and I played knight to e4. I wanted to put some pressure on this f6 pawn, not pawn, knight, and I wanted to put some pressure on the d6 bishop. Bishop d7, and now bishop to f4. And here I was hoping for queen takes d4. Why do you think I was hoping for queen takes d4? Well, knight takes c6. That's what I was hoping for. And if you play bishop takes f6, I have queen takes c6, and this is a very famous checkmate. But if knight takes f6, right, then there's queen takes, bishop check, and rook takes d4, right? So that's what I was thinking about. I wanted our friend Runinja to maybe fall in, but luckily our friend Runinja didn't. Played knight to b8. Now I'm not exactly sure whether this move accomplishes that much. Maybe there might be knight a6 and knight b4, but I kind of felt like knight to b8 didn't do what it was intended to do, whatever it was intended to do. Rook d5, and now knight g5. I'm going for that weak pawn, right? And I'm just trying to find weaknesses in our friend Runinja's position. Rook f8, now I play h4. I'm just solidifying my attacking routes and just going for it. Rook to a5, king b1, bishop to a3, putting plenty of pressure on this b2 pawn, I play bishop to c1, knight to d5, just putting even more pressure by maybe saying, hey, I want to take c3. Please let me. I say no. King to a1, unpin, so now I can eat the bishop, but at the same time I have to worry about the knight coming to c3. So bishop e7, and now I found this move knight to h7, kicking the rook out so I can take. Rook h8, queen takes, saying, if you take here, I'm going to play queen to g8 and maybe get the rook. So after queen to b3, real scary move. I mean, I was scared by it. I played bishop to b1, knight to d7, and now knight to g5. I was saying, you know, these pawns are very, very delicious looking, but I need to get this knight out. So I play knight to g5, rook to f8, and I just go to e6. I say, if you take f2, doesn't matter. I'm going to trade. I'm going to come to f7, put some pressure on this d7 knight, and at the same time, I have to think about, you know, black's position looks very scary, right? But is there any attack? And to be honest, I told myself, I said, no, there is no attack for black. If you play knight takes c3, I'm going to just take, pardon me, the queen, right? So the knight can't move. The rook is the only one moving, and it's really not a coordinated military effort. Here, after queen to a4, seeing that there was no threat whatsoever, I just decided to cash in. Rook takes e7, knight takes, queen takes, knight to b6, and now I'm starting to build the checkmates, right? And our friend Runinja just simply gives up and goes to bed. So, the game was all okay. It was okay. What I should have done is I should have played h4 first, and later on my game was okay. It wasn't too bad, right? Even though I made some not so great choices, I was able to bring out the win in the end. Now, I'm not sure if knight b8 is the way to go. I think knight takes e4 and activating that knight to f6 is the way to go. But who knows which one's better? Knight to b8, c3, rook d5, and now I'm going for that weak pawn. Right, so h4. So this part I think I played pretty well. And I played pretty well in this part. I defended in this part. Played knight g5, and here I was glad that I wasn't afraid of the offense. You know, sometimes you react to something going on in your country, and you're like, oh, how do we heal from this, right? And to be honest, in chess, there is healing, but only temporary healing, you know? You'll probably lose many more of the games than you actually win, so losing should be part of the norm. It builds character. Rook to c2. Here I asked myself, you know, am I under threat of anything? And I was like, no. So then I moved on to take the pieces, knight e6, and checkmate. So let's get into our next game. The next game was a London. You know, bishop f4, knight d7, e6, bishop d6. The next game wasn't so special. Played a6. I hoped to play b5, right? But then I pivoted. I played c5 simply because there was this knight c3 thing, or knight c6 thing, if I push to b5. So after c5, I said castles, pawn takes, and now rook d8. So as you notice, I can slowly gang up on this isolated pawn. Queen b3, and now knight to h5. So at this point, I'm clearly unaware that knight takes f7 is a thing, because I'm just thinking, you know, if king takes f7, bishop takes d6, and knight e4. I didn't envision this to be my kind of thing, right? So I decided, why not give it a shot? Knight h5, Knight takes d7, knight takes, and queen takes d7. Just saying, this isolated pawn looks really weak, so let me go after it right now. Rook d1, queen c7, and bishop to e7. Opening my doors for d4, rook c1, queen d7, and now I go for this very interesting break, because after bishop takes b5, my goal is to play queen to a7. Go for the d4 pawn, but at the same time, think about rook b8 and bishop to a6, winning that bishop. So in the game, a takes, bishop d2. Now I was allowed to develop my bishop. Knight c5, and now queen to d5. So what queen to d5 does is it says if you play queen takes b5, I'm going to checkmate you. So now that we know that there is a checkmate, queen d5 has to be the best move in order to keep both of these bishops, right? If the queen was on c6, then knight takes b7. But it's not happening. Queen d5, queen takes, bishop takes, and now I'm trying to team up on this isolated pawn, right? As you can tell, I play this endgame pretty well, but it really requires this practice and this devotion. So here I am to let you know that chess is a hard thing, right? If we look at the very start, it was all okay, right? Knight e5, c5, c takes d4, rook d8, and I'm doing well. But after knight h5, I missed the move knight takes f7. And to be honest, it was a very hard game to really think, and it was challenging to figure out about something like that. So knight takes d7, knight takes, queen takes, and now I'm slowly consolidating. I'm shifting my pieces, I'm getting my bishop out, I'm getting my queen out to the center, and I'm ganging up on this isolated pawn because I think that although it deserves freedom, it also deserves captivity. And especially with the willpower to do well and to keep pushing through, it's important that you, as the listener or the reader, continues to fight for what's right, right? It's all about continuing that attendance that you believe is right. It's all about finding that curiosity, doing those puzzles, expressing an interest in chess that's going to help you do well. So there are so many things that could go well for you. It's a matter of what you choose, and life is there to find a path for you. Not exactly, but like pave a path, right? Because there's so many places to go and so little time. So it requires a lot of good planning. It requires what chess players need to do: strategize, time pressure, right? Think about everything that comes into play. And with that, I will see you next time.